Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a suggestion from a viewer actually. I've been filming a few kind of, I guess, seasonally palette videos where it's like 5 neglected palettes that I want to use for the next season. And a viewer, Deirdre, mentioned that she'd like to see something along the lines of single shadows that I've neglected, and I thought that was fantastic because I really love palettes and they're definitely the thing I have the most of in my collection, which has meant that I have ignored a lot of my single shadows over the years. Now, before my obsession with palettes started, I definitely loved single eyeshadows and I would buy tons of them, but over the years I've gotten rid of a lot of them and or put them in palettes like a Z palette or something like that, just because I reach for a palette more often than I reach for a single. But I still have an area in my makeup collection that is just single shadows, and while I've kind of culled through it over the years, just because I don't use them that often, so I was getting rid of some of them, there are still some shadows in there that I love desperately that I want to make use of. So this video will encourage me to do that because for the next few months I'm definitely going to be using these products now that I've pulled them back out of my collection. Because you know, if you put something at the back of your makeup area, you always forget about it. Even though you tell yourself to use that later, it never works. I always forget about it. So thank you for the idea, Deirdre. I think it's great, and I'm gonna be talking about 5 single shadows that I'm going to reincorporate back into my collection over the next few months. Not all of these are gonna be current, so keep that in mind. This is mostly an encouraging video for you to shop your stash because that's what I'm doing too. So the first one I'm gonna talk about is quite old, and it's a MAC shadow from a holiday launch. I couldn't even tell you what year. It could have been 2009. Possibly. So this one is called Blue Sorcery, and it was part of their Mineralized collection, which used to be, I feel like, really polarizing for the beauty community. I really loved most of MAC's Mineralized eyeshadows, you know, sort of in that baked domed pan, but I feel like so many people hated them back in the day. There were quite a number in this holiday collection that were similar, just with different colors, but this one was definitely the one that I love the most. So the color is like this turquoise color that's very shimmery. It definitely applies best when you use it wet, that's for sure, because then it goes on more of a foiled texture. And the other aspect of this color is that this up here is a chunky silver glitter. It's very flaky, and at the time I thought it was so freaking cool because glitter tends to really only come in like that finely milled stuff that it's all pretty much the same size of particles. This one is very different. It's flaky, it's chunky. It looks super neat when you put it on the inner corner of your eye, and actually I'm wearing something else that is not this product on the inner corner of my eye, but it's the same sort of idea. It's like a flaky, chunky, crystallized version of a glitter, and it's a lot of fun to play with. It's not for everybody, but it is a lot of fun. But the color that I mostly want to get the use out of is going to be this turquoise here. And the funny thing about this one is that this is actually my second pan of this. Years ago, I think my cat knocked over the original eyeshadow I had of this and the thing smashed into pieces, and I was so heartbroken that I think I went onto eBay and bought another one at a much higher price tag. But at the time I would have spent just about anything to get this shadow back in my collection because I couldn't repress the one that fell on the ground. Like, it was just a disaster. So I'm gonna be making use out of this, and now that I'm looking at it, I've actually hit a little bit of pan on the side, which is really impressive. So I'm falling in love with the color of this all over again, which is very exciting, and I really just can't wait to use it. And I'm pretty much gonna put this all over the lid and put this silver sparkle on the inner corner of my eye, and it's gonna be gorgeous. Now the next shadow is one by Kat Von D, but I just wanna put out a little disclaimer before I get into talking about the shadow because it's been a little bit of time since I have discussed the Kat Von D issue. I have a lot of Kat Von D in my collection. I have purchased it because I loved it dearly and I think she makes great products. However, since she has come out as an anti-vaxxer, I am no longer purchasing her products. But I've still got a lot of stuff in my collection that I really enjoy, and so I want to get my money's worth out of it. So for that reason, I'm pulling out the Thunderstruck eyeshadow. This was part of the Metal Crush range, which I actually think that they've completely discontinued because I've seen it on sale at Winners or Marshalls pretty much every time I've been in there in the last few months. And that really surprised me because this eyeshadow formula was always considered to be really good as far as I was aware in the makeup community. Now, Thunderstruck looks so boring on camera. It's the lights washing it out. But this is a white gold shimmer with like pink duochrome to it. Sometimes I see more gold, sometimes I see peach, pink. It is absolutely freaking stunning. I know a lot of people use this as a face highlighter, but I've got so many face highlighters in my collection that I really don't need to be using an eyeshadow to do that. I want to use this all over my lid and mix in different colors on the outer corner to really bring out the different tones that are in this eyeshadow. I've mentioned recently that I feel like white gold as an eyeshadow is kind of coming back into style in the makeup community, or at least I've seen a lot of brands putting out palettes with this kind of color in it. So I remember really liking this kind of shade years and years ago, but I just kind of forgot about it, I guess. And now that it's being brought up more and more, I'm starting to remember how much I loved it. So I'm excited to use this. And honestly, I'm sad that I just forgot about it because I was so excited to pick this up. I think I got it at an IMATS Toronto for a discounted price. And I was so pumped to have it, and then I used it probably once, twice, and then threw it into that eyeshadow singles drawer and kind of forgot about it. So happy to be using this again. I love the formula of the Metal Crush shadows because it's buttery, it's soft, and the pigment is always so beautiful. Man, just talking about these single eyeshadows is getting me excited to use them all over again. It's funny, I started using eyeshadow palettes and I forgot all about my singles, so this one is one that I am super excited to be using. The next shadow is one by ColourPop, and it's in their Super Shock Shadow formula, which I don't love. It's like a putty texture and it's near impossible to apply with a brush. You basically have to use your fingertips, and I just don't like using my fingers to apply eyeshadow. I find it messy and difficult to blend, and it just doesn't go on the way I want it to. However, this does definitely work better with a finger. So I've gotten rid of a lot of my ColourPop Super Shock shadows over the years just because I don't reach for them. But there was a few that I kept because the color was just freaking stunning, and this is one of them. This shade is called Too Soon, and I think it was in one of those 4-packs. It was probably like a collaboration with a blogger or a YouTuber, and I just can't remember their name. But what made this color so special for me is that it's like a peach pink with gold glitter in it. Now the glitter is not too strong, it's very finely milled, but it comes off so pretty, and it's really nice for using on the inner corner of your eye. I've hit pan on this, which is kind of surprising because I don't remember using it that much, but there is so little product in this container that I'm not surprised that I've actually hit the bottom of the pan. What's interesting to me about this shadow is that it actually reminds me a lot of that weird glitter color in the Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar palette. That palette's sadly also been discontinued, but the colors are very similar. It's like a pale peach base with some glitter in it, and I loved using that color, although I know a lot of people did not enjoy it, but this is very similar to it. What's nice about this Super Shock shadow in particular too is that it hasn't gone hard over the years. I think I got this 8 years ago, 7, something like that. And most of the Super Shock shadows that I got at the same time had gone crusty and hard, and I had to completely throw them out because you just couldn't use them. This one is still really smooth, which is quite nice, and I mean all the packaging is the same, so I don't know why this one is still okay to use and the other ones weren't. Anyway, I do really enjoy this color. I'm happy I'm going to be pulling it out and using it again, even though I have to use my fingertips to apply it. So the next two are actually pigments. I hadn't really thought about that when I was pulling items to showcase in this video. They live in my singles drawer, so they're basically single eyeshadows as far as I'm concerned. The first one here is by Tarte, and it's new-ish to me. I feel like I got it about a year and a half ago, but I used it, loved it, and then forgot about it. So I want to get more use out of it. This is the Chrome Paint Shadow Pot in the shade Fire Dancer. And you can see the color there. I'll open it up, but I don't really want to hold it open while I talk about it because it's going to be a freaking mess if this goes everywhere. The color in here is astonishingly pretty. It is like a molten chrome fire, and it's deep and it's pigmented. This applies so strongly on the lid with even just a dry brush. You don't need to wet your brush, which I do with a lot of pigments just because I feel like it's easier to sort of swipe the color onto your lid. This one goes on dry and it is pigmented and beautiful. It's super saturated. The color is very unique for Tarte because Tarte, while I like the brand as a whole, does tend to play on the safe side of things with colors. I think of them more as a neutral brand, so I don't often see colors like this coming from them. But they do deliver on quality because this is so pretty, it's easy to use, and I really like using this as a one and done eyeshadow look, which is almost unheard of for me. I really like to incorporate different colors when I'm doing my eyeshadow looks, but this one is so impactful when you use it just by itself. that I don't even want to include other shadows when I'm using it. I always get super excited by red eyeshadows, and something like this just really makes my heart sing because it's easy to use, it's pigmented, and it is oh so beautiful. And the very last eyeshadow I have to talk about is one that I'm surprised is not discontinued anymore, because I feel like the beauty world used to rave about these eyeshadows and then everybody stopped talking about them. And they are the L'Oreal Infallible Pigments. Do you guys remember these? Like, the beauty world loved these. 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. Everyone was obsessed with these, and they still have them at the drugstore, which surprises me to this day because I figure they would have discontinued them because no one is talking about them anymore. Anyway, this is the shade Amber Rush, and I have quite a few of these, but this color is so beautiful and oddly unique, even though it's kind of a neutral color, and I don't tend to think that neutrals are that unique. So you pull off the top, you've got the stopper inside, and it is technically a loose pigment, I guess, but it is packed in there quite well, so it's not falling everywhere, which is nice because I hate sticking a brush in a pigment and it goes everywhere. It's just a mess. So this is Amber Rush, and it is absolutely beautiful. The color in there is sort of amber, but I see a little bit of bronze as well, and honestly the reflect shine off of it goes quite silver at times, which I think is pretty unique. I don't tend to see a lot of amber colored eyeshadows that reflect silver. It just doesn't seem to be a combination that is that common. This is one that I used to just put all over the eye, throw like a warm brown in the crease, throw on some wing liner, because I always do that too, and then call it a day. And as with all the other shadows in this video, I love this so much, but I completely forgot about it. And honestly, some of that has to do with the fact that nobody talks about these on YouTube anymore. So they're not that current, they're not that popular, no one's that excited about these, and I don't even think they put out new colors of this formula, which is so sad because I remember years ago I used to get so excited when I heard of a new L'Oreal collection that had more shadows like this in it, but sadly they don't do that anymore. But Amber Rush I think was a fan favorite for a lot of people, and I've held it in my collection for a very long time just because I've had so many fond memories of this color, and now I'm going to use it again. So I'm going to take these 5 neglected single shadows and use them with the 5 neglected palettes that I've recently pulled back into regular rotation in my collection, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!